difficulties here. And we getting there though. We getting there. I'm also streaming live on my YouTube channel, the Uhuru Academy YouTube channel right now. And so I'm in the media room here at UASC, kind of setting things up. We have some new lights in and all that. So we kind of just setting things up. I'm actually getting ready to do a media arts camp sometime in August, and for young people, teaching them how to edit and create content, use the chroma key features, things like that. So it's gonna be pretty fun, podcasting. So just kind of getting things set up, and thought I'd do that. While working on the education solution, why not go ahead and have our discussion about education solutions for Black children? You know what I'm saying? And yeah, and I think like my daughter was in here a minute ago. Usaba was in here a minute ago, and she was on the stream that I had to stop, right? But she came and got behind the camera, and I asked her, what does she love most about school? And she said she loved art. I said, why do you love art? And she was like, because we get to make stuff, we get to draw, we get to paint, they get to create, right? And then she said she likes science. And I asked her, why do you like science? And she said, because in science, they get to do experiments. Everything she said was about being active. Everything she said was about using your hands and using your mind to be able to create, which brings me to the solution. I'm going to carry that spirit, her spirit, and talk about the solution that we want to discuss today, and that's hands-on learning, active learning. Our children thrive in active learning situations, situations where they're able to physically interact, you know what I'm saying, with activities, right? Rather as opposed to just sitting down all day and listen to somebody regurgitate information, to them, right? Look for opportunities for your children to learn hands-on. Look for opportunities for your children to get their hands dirty, to touch the dirt a little bit, to build something, to fix something, to create something, right? Right? And I think the more hands-on learning opportunities our children have, the more they would thrive. We talk a lot about how a lot of the vocational programs were taken out of a lot of public schools. Like in some cities now, in order to take a vocational class, you have to go to a vocational high school, right? Whereas there was a time where most regular schools had vocational courses in them, whether it's wood shop or metal shop, right? And what studies show and prove is that when you have hands-on learning opportunities inside the school, that bleeds over. Those students who learn well with their hands, they'll carry that confidence into the so-called written classroom with them, right? But when you take those opportunities for hands-on learning away from students, away from the school, man, that alienates a lot of students from the whole school process, especially when they're stuck in situations where they're just teaching to the test and learning how to pass a test. I don't think people understand the role that hands-on learning plays when it comes to the complete learning process, and how the confidence and skills you pick up doing what you love will carry on to the classes that are more of a challenge for you, right? And so when we're talking about education solutions for Black children, right, one solution that we definitely want to talk about and stress, right, is the importance of hands-on learning opportunities. Observation and participation are key components when empowering Black students. Anybody got any comments? What you think about that, Baba? Baba Gerald. Yeah, he's on here.
Where?
He's right there. See, that's Baba Gerald right there. It's not video, it's audio, right? So hands-on learning. Now let me take some time out to come over and check on the YouTube stream. Okay. I think everything's going good. All right, cool. So peace, Laree, peace, Knowledge Born, for joining me on Clubhouse. But yeah, Hands-on learning, y'all. Observation and participation are key components when empowering our children. Yes, we have to be culturally relevant. Yes, we want culture in our schools, but I've seen this mistake being made even in African-centered programs where, yes, they're learning about our story, but it's still a whole bunch of just reading and writing and listening, right? Matter of fact, one of the criticisms, loving criticisms that I had early on when I was observing African centered schools and the approach was a lot of times teachers had to fight the urge, you know, of giving a lecture, a Black Power lecture in every class, right? Like when you have a lot of information, when you're a wealth of information, that's cool. But one of the most challenging things that you have, one of the most challenging things that's in front of you when you're dealing with young people, give out the information in doses. Because one of the main things I train my teachers on is don't go down the rabbit hole. Right? So if you're talking about, let's say if you're talking to your students about Brown versus Board of Education, right? And you're talking about integration and you want them to think critically about whether or not integration has helped our community or harmed our community, right? Well, stick to Brown and stick to and do your best to get to the critical thinking question, right? But sometimes what we do is we'll start on the subject, but then that subject will give birth to another subject. And you might be like, Brown versus Board of Education came along in 1954, and that's where the federal government or Supreme Court decided that it was unconstitutional to segregate the schools. But let me tell you what Malcolm said segregation was. Segregation was when someone from outside your community controls the economics and politics inside your community. You know what I'm saying? And when you look at our community today, someone from the outside still controls it. Now, look, the classroom's like, okay, give it to me in doses. Don't give me the whole lecture. Not the children. Try to condense it as best you can. Keep it interesting. And most importantly, hurry up, get to the part where they can participate. Have your question ready. Right? So hands-on learning. And at the same time, remember, don't lecture your children to death. It could be great information, but you have to guard against information overload, especially when dealing with our children who are super energetic, super intelligent. You don't need to make a point 10 times for Black people to get it. I know you done been to church and the preacher gonna keep saying it until somebody say amen twice, right? But you don't have to go to church in the classroom. In the classroom, make your point and then get them engaged. Right? Get them engaged. Pay attention. All right. And this is for you parents too. I know it kind of sounds like it's something that's geared more towards teachers, but for parents too, when engaging your children, homeschooling parents who don't homeschool, when helping your child with the homework, when engaging your children about life, right? Pay attention to your child's body language. Pay attention to what they're saying, right? And then check yourself. Right? Make a point. Boop. Don't belabor it. Make the point. Boop. And then keep moving. They got it. Right? Give your children things to do around the house. Working with their hands, where they can observe, where they can think critically. Right? Give your children things to do and don't hold their hands during the process. Say, figure it out. I know you can do it. Figure it out. Hands-on learning, education solutions for Black children, right? And these are solutions that we're not getting enough of in the public school system. So parents who have children in the public school system, unless you're about to pull them out and put them in the Uhuru Academy, in which case we welcome them, right? But make sure that your child has opportunities to observe and participate while at school, all right? From my recent observations, a lot of what's going on right now in school is not only teaching to the test, but they're teaching to the test on the computer. So they're basically coming to class, getting on the computer, and working through problems. Not a lot of engagement at all. Man, that don't work with arrhythmic people. When you dealing with arrhythmic people, when you dealing with a people who thrive on rhythm, who thrive on music, who thrive on movement, then you have to engage them with that type of movement, right? It has to be culturally relevant. Culturally relevant don't just mean include black people in the curriculum. That's important. But culturally relevant also means how do you move in the classroom? Your cadence when you teach. Culturally relevant is your seating pattern in the classroom. Culturally relevant. So,
So,
yes, sir.
Baba, you were saying you brought up some key words. You said critical thinking. So, when you say, from an educator perspective, when you say critical thinking, do you mean words like, what do you think?
Yes.
And then I guess helping the child process through that thought?
Right, right. And the
Is that
first
what you're
and
talking about?
yes, and the first step in helping a child process a thought is validating that thought. Right? So you have to, if you want to cultivate critical thinkers, you first have to cultivate a safe environment where there's no blame, there are no wrong answers. Not when we critically thinking. Critically thinking means I want to know where you are on this topic right now. And I'm not going to judge you for it, right? So as an educator, I have to guard my judgment, my sense of judgment, right? Where and that's where cultural relevance comes in as well. Because if you have preconceived notions about the audience that you have in front of you, you may be turning your nose up and looking down on and disregarding their thoughts without even knowing it, right? So yes, when I say critical thinking, that's what do you think about that? How do you feel? That's opening a classroom with an open-ended question, with open-ended questions. And you can start any lesson with an open-ended question. Where do you think rain comes from? Why do you think that? That kind of makes sense. Just based, if you don't know where rain comes from, just based on your observation, what do you think? Well, I think it comes from the clouds. Well, because you look up, it's always cloudy when it rains. Now they're thinking. Now you're discussing things. Even when discussing our history, you know. When you think we talked about Martin's approach, we talked about Malcolm's approach. Which approach speaks most to you? Well, I like Martin. Why? Why does Martin Luther King's approach stand out to you? No right or wrong answers. We even have an activity that we call values voting, where we have students line up, right? Get in line. If you want to add a little mini activity inside of that activity, you can have them line up from shortest to tallest without saying a word, right? Once you get them lined up in a single file line, you play values voting. You put a sign on one side of the room that says agree. Then you put a sign on the other side of the room that says disagree, and a sign in the middle of the room that says unsure. And that's where the line is, in the middle of the room. Then you come out with a statement, right? And you want their opinion on it. So you may say something like, violent rap lyrics influence the behavior of young people, right? Now, you don't give your opinion as a teacher. You just put it out there. Do violent rap lyrics affect the behavior of young people? Then you say, if you agree, step to the agree side of the room. If you disagree, go to the disagree side of the room. If you're not sure, stay in the middle. Then you go to the agree side and you say, why did you pick someone? Why do you agree? And there's no arguing when they're talking. The disagree side can't say anything. Why do you agree? And they say, well, I think this, and this. And you tell, oh, those of you who are unsure, you can pick a side at any time. Because after you hear these opinions, who knows where you want to go? And if you're on the agree side, then you want to get on the disagree side, you can do that. If you're on the disagree side, you hear what somebody else says, and you want to switch to the agree side, you could do that as well. And you go to the agree side, then you go to the disagree side. Then you ask somebody why you unsure. And you sit back and you watch them formulate their opinions and shape and mold their opinions. They're critically thinking right there in front of you. That's an excellent icebreaker activity. That's an activity really that can stand on its own. I know they're big on social emotional learning in schools right now. Well, that's a great social emotional lesson right there. And it's a great way for you as a teacher to become more youth culturally relevant because you're hearing what they're thinking straight from them. And they're moving. because you got to go from one line to this side of the room to that side of the room. So it's rhythmic. You're talking, you're expressing, right? Observation, participation, hands-on learning, critical thinking.
And I could see how that activity plays out into their young adult lifehood or the adulthood when
Yes.
it comes to just their social presence and how to articulate their thoughts, or
Right.
if they go into sales, which everything is a sell
That's
when you
right.
become an adult. So yeah, that's powerful right there. And a whole lot of that is not happening in the public school system.
No, no, no.
The critical focusing on critical thinking.
Focus on
Yeah, because
critical thinking.
everything is test to the they test to the
Right.
test.
Right.
However you say that.
Right. So you're teaching to the test because the money is
Teaching to the
tied to the
test. Yeah.
test, right? But the money's not tied to the development of the child. Because my ability to pass a test doesn't say much about my development as a person, doesn't say anything about my plans for the future or my ability to plan for the future. So you have thousands and thousands and thousands of children passing the test in school, but they're not ready for the test of life. They're not ready to commit to a career. They're not ready to commit to a path. I don't know what my goal is. My goal was to pass. That was my goal. My goal was to pass, to graduate high school. That was my goal. Well, you get a piece of paper for that, but you get no guaranteed income for that. Some say my goal was to go to college. Well, you can go to college, but they don't give you a degree for going,
Wow, it's powerful.
you know. And so we have to create more, when I say hands on learning, not just physical hands on, mentally hands on, right? And then a hands on approach to your baby's path, to the path that your child is on. How many of us sit up and look shocked like, I don't know what happened. He used to love school, now he hates it. And you shocked. You don't know what happened. You can't pinpoint the moment or the time period where your child lost interest in education. Well, if you can't pinpoint the source of the problem, how can we fix it? Parents call me all the time. I don't know what happened. I can't get him to go to school. He hates school. And I always ask, when did he start hating it? What happened? What triggered that? Have y'all had that conversation? By your best estimation, when did you start seeing a change? What do you think it is? And a lot of times, it's them boys he hanging around with. Well, they hanging around him too. That's what they mama saying about your child. So we got so no, what I want to do, let's find what it is inside of your child that has sparked this new philosophy on life. Because they have a philosophy, you just haven't heard it yet. When you say, hey boy, he don't want to do nothing. Well, there's a philosophy attached to that. What is it? And so, more engaging in more critical thinking activities and giving young people more opportunities to speak out in school and teaching them how to articulate in a healthy way from an early age, when they start to disconnect, they'll know how to tell somebody. They'll know how to articulate. When they can't articulate it because they haven't had a hands on approach to critical thinking, when they don't know how to articulate, you'll ask, what's wrong? And they'll say, nothing. But it's clearly something wrong. Now, what's the issue? Nothing. I just hate it. I just don't like it. Well, you can't just don't like it. What happened? Nothing. Because they thinking in their mind, you not gonna, whatever my reason is not gonna be legit to you. So why should I say it? If I say what the problem really is, you just gonna tell me I'm wrong. Let's just skip to the part where you punish me. Let's just skip to that part.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Yes. So
I also can see how that critical thinking can focusing on that and building that skill set can also help with our future as far as our community
yes.
and processing what we have to do for ourselves.
Right.
Now I'm getting towards the nation building, solution
Mm-hmm.
oriented
Mm-hmm.
things in our community, that type stuff. Because if we can process what we're seeing and what we seeing, hearing, tasting, using our five senses
Yes.
and knowing our history, maybe our kids are going to be better at that. That come from an African-centered education, they're going to be more equipped and better at that to come up with
Right.
these solutions even faster.
Hey, Baba, one of my favorite activities in our creative writing curriculum is when we have teacher's choice. And the writing prompt is, if you could change anything about the black community, what would it be? They all have answers. They all have solutions, and very valid solutions and opinions as far as what they would do if they had ownership. If they felt as if they had real ownership in their community, what would you do to change it? And you get some of the most beautiful answers from the elementary level on up to the high school level. The thing is putting them in an education pipeline where when we're asking that question, we're not asking it just so we can dream. We're asking it because this is going to be your task. So we need to start discussing those solutions now because these are solutions that can be implemented. And a part of your education is going to be learning how to implement them. Students will say, I want to end homelessness in my community. That can be done. You need to be educated toward that goal. They say stuff like, we want more businesses and black-owned businesses in our community. That can be done. We want cleaner stores. That can be done. We want more stuff to do for the youth. Like what? Better, more community centers and computers. We want access to computers. We want this one. They will tell you, we want violence. We want to end to the violence, or too many drugs going on. It needs more jobs. My brother ain't got no job. My uncle ain't got no job. If we don't think they're watching, they're watching. And they need opportunity to express it. What we have right now is I go to school. I'm dealing with all this trauma and drama. Daddy out of work, mama struggling to get work, brothers tripping in and out, sisters having all this stuff. I gotta come to school for 8 hours, and ain't nobody gonna ask me anything or give me an opportunity to express anything about what I see at home and in my community on a daily basis. I gotta hold that in. So as I try to hold all that in, what's gonna happen? Pressure bust pipes. It's going to come out somewhere else. Somebody's going to step on my shoe. I let it out right there on that person. The teacher going to tell me to be quiet. Guess what? I'm going to give you a little extra anger that I carried from last night. Thank you for telling me to be quiet. Now I'm going to go off on you. Because that energy, it has to be released somewhere. So it's very important, especially dealing with children in our community, that our children get opportunities to express in a healthy way what they see, hear, taste, feel on a daily basis. It's imperative because we have a huge population within our community that see, touch, hear, taste, and feel things that most people would say children shouldn't see, touch, hear, taste, and feel. Poverty. Woo. Very little censorship in poverty. Very little censorship in poverty. Poverty is raw. It's an open sore. You see everybody else's frustrations. You see everybody else's struggles. You hear it. There's not enough space in the house to not hear mama crying, fussing, or cussing legitimately about something that's going on. So those children, we're carrying that stuff into the schoolhouse. So it's imperative that those children have opportunities to speak, to talk, because many are being forced to grow up faster than you may expect them to or be comfortable with them doing it. But if you don't allow them opportunities to process it and be able to come in as a teacher and facilitator to make it healthy, to put a healthier spin on it or different perspective or an advanced nuanced interpretation on it, where that child can walk out saying, okay, that is a problem, but it's one I can deal with. It's one that can be dealt with. If I hang on to this process, show me how this process is going to get me out of that process. Because if you don't show me how this process is going to get me out of poverty, out of that process, I'm going to find a process that will. So when the streets come calling and say, hey, selling dope will get you out of poverty. Robbing people will get you out of poverty. Huh? Yes, sir. He's breaking up a little bit. But I get when you give me a signal gets good. Yeah. And so I've been doing a lot of research on modern day youth culture. And when you look into oh, okay. You speaking, Baba, but your connection.
Research and actually, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, sorry about that.
I can hear you now.
And then actually, yeah. And yeah, I can see them getting passionate about the solutions that they hear in the classroom and start catching a vision of what they need to do for their community.
Right.
And it actually turns out, and by the time they become a young adult and with the entrepreneurial spirit that we get from the African-centered education, I can see the solutions that they will deliver. Right. Because they caught it early. They talked about it early. Right. It was part of their upbringing. It was part of their education.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely that's powerful right there. And because in any nation to pass on an idea of what they need, they've always done it through the education
system. Right.
On a mass
right.
level.
So
that's kind of the same concept here. If we want to solve our problems, we have to do it through our education system of
our own. And we have to think generationally, right? And people say, well, the public school system is ours. Well, we don't act like it's ours. We don't treat it like it's ours. And when we go in and try to shape it and mold it, into something that could solve the problems in our community, we get reminded that it's not ours. But should that stop us? Should we allow that, the roadblocks that comes with dealing with the system, should we allow that to stop us from implementing solutions that we know will work? And even if we don't know will work, that we theorize that's going to work, because y'all, integration was just a theory. That was a theory. That if we began to integrate the schools, it would improve the conditions of black people and improve the quality of education for the black community. That was a theory. Now that we're some 60 some odd years up from Brown versus Board of Education, it's way past time to start analyzing the findings in this lab experiment that we've called school integration in the United States. And when we look at it scientifically, when we look at the results, we have to have that conversation. Where do we go from here? Was it successful? Is this something that we need to continue and add to? Or is this something that we need to move away from altogether? Is it time to regroup when it comes to black education? Should we be fighting to build our own institutions and take our tax dollars with us? These are conversations that we need to have. People keep talking about we need to close the achievement gap between white and black students. You're not going to close the achievement gap as long as the underlying belief, right, is that black children don't want to learn. Black parents are sorry. How are you going to close the achievement gap, right, when you have a preconceived notion and belief about one group that you don't have about the other? You can't say we got to close the achievement gap out of one side of your mouth and then actually believe that one group is superior at the other side. If you're saying we need to be more like them, then that's white supremacy. And if you don't believe in white supremacy, that's good. But that don't mean you don't believe in black inferiority. So we have to look at systems with the working assumption that we are actually up to the task. But what I found in my experience is that not only do we lack confidence in the ability of our children, we lack confidence in our abilities as educators to build our own institutions.
Bob, I was just getting ready to chime in on that point right there.
Yes, sir.
Because we're the we're the result. Our generation and before us, we're the results of that integrated education system.
Yes, sir.
We're the results. We're more educated than any other time in history. We got master's degrees, doctorate degrees. we surgeons, engineers, all of these things. We even got the vocational skills. We're carpenters. We're plumbers.
Yeah.
We have all of these skills, but we are the products of an integrated education. That we're a group of people with all of these skill sets that won't do anything for themselves.
Yes. It's
right?
It's very unique.
Just like you talk about the educators. Yeah, you're talking about the educators. They're educators. They went through this training to get this education degree to educate their kids, but they don't believe that they can educate their own. So you're a product of that integrated, I'm inferior to the people that's educated.
And I've even witnessed, because you have those that say, well, we're changing it from within. Well, it's time to give that a report card. Because I'm noticing that all the doctors, doctor this, doctor that, and that are inside, right? How is that? I've seen a lack of confidence in our ability to do that, and a lack of results. We have to have that conversation. So if your education didn't empower you to change it from within, and it didn't empower you to fix things from without, what have you been trained to do? What have you been educated to do? Perhaps maintain the status quo is your training.
Yes.
Perhaps that's your true education. Because when you try to change the status quo or build outside of the status quo, it's like you get a glitch in your programming. Panic attacks, anxiety, fear. And we have to deal with that. So and we're going to talk about that in one of our dialogues. And I think this is a good one to kind of end this one on. And maybe that's what we'll talk about next week when it comes to education solutions for black children. Perhaps we can't discuss education solutions for black children unless we also discuss education solutions for black adults, teachers, and professionals. Because in order to fix education for our children, we're going to have to fix our own education. Cool. Bob, I appreciate your input. Fantastic. Everyone who listened, appreciate you. Share this. Make sure other people catch the replay. Great dialogue. We'll be back here next week, next Tuesday, 2 p.m. to discuss education solutions for black children. Peace. All right. Those of you on YouTube, appreciate your time. Appreciate you checking out this video. Please make sure you subscribe to our channel, the Uhuru Academy Education Solutions channel on YouTube. Y'all, we almost at 1,000 subscribers. All right. So let's get it in. Okay. I can't wait to the day. Well, no, I can wait. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking forward to the day where we can begin to monetize our school videos and use those funds, right, to help build our program. That money can go towards scholarships, towards tuition, towards teachers. So I need my community to step up. I need you to step up. Engage with us. We're going to do our part. We're going to impart information. We're going to teach. We're going to provide inspiring content and highlighting our youth and highlighting great work that's going on out here in the community. We need you to do your part, and let's upset the algorithm with some of this positivity. So subscribe, hit the notification button. Thank you for listening. Educate Solutions for African Children. Peace.